Next, you'll hear from Professor Ramesh Jain about the future of Personal Health Navigator.
First of all, uh, I'm so happy to be working with a team that's so hardworking, so passionate. You saw some of that from George's presentation. Uh, she really believes in it, and she is very passionate about it. And she has put together this team, which put together this event today. Would you believe that 1 year ago there was no concept of health unity? It is in less than a year that the concept was born, and all these things are put together, where we are talking about all these kind of things. So let's let me share with you what drives me and what brought Joe and I together, and several other people, including Bryant and Robson, together. And there are some other people with whom I have been working at UCI and other places. I very strongly believe that data is central to health, completely central to health, more than absolutely anything else. And that's why I call it that lifeblood of health is data. But I, as a user, or I, as a person, don't give a damn about the data. I don't really care about the data. All I care is what data does for me. I care about the insights that I can get from the data, and I
Better
use
now.
only
Thank you.
those things. And this is extremely important thing for us to remember, that ultimately what we are trying to do is for people. Eh? Now it's very interesting, and you heard from expert like Dr. Pearl about the state of health and what could be the future. More than 76 years ago, that means more than possibly anybody in this room's lifetime so far. Uh, you heard World Health Organization was formed, and they started defining what is this. And they very clearly stated that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Okay. This was more than 75 years ago. They also argued very strongly that the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being. Okay. The interesting thing is what has happened in the last 76 years and what we are currently trying to do. So you start thinking, what is happening in the healthcare today? What happens is, I suddenly feel sick, something is wrong with me. And when that happens, then I decide to go to the doctor or clinic. Lot of data is collected. That data is analyzed, and they try to decide what kind of disease could be there. More data is collected, and based on this, prescriptions are written, and prescriptions are given to people. The statistics are that more than 50% people don't care about the prescription. Several don't understand that. So nothing really happens. And that's when you start thinking that there has to be a better way for dealing with these things. So you start thinking, what could be the better way? Because you start thinking, when is it that I get best health care? Under what conditions today do I get the best health care? Think about it. When do you get best attention from your doctors? Not by just prescribed and forget about it. When do you get full attention? When do you get continuous attention? when you are about to die. Yeah. You get this attention only when you are in ICU. All the nurses and doctors will attend you. They will pay full attention to you. And what is interesting is to see how many sensors, how many ways they are monitoring your body. So when you look at this, you start asking yourself a very simple question. Why don't we put every child as soon as it is born in ICU and let it live all its life in the ICU? Yeah. Now we are all laughing at it. But believe me, that is the best way to deal with it. And that's what we are doing. We are putting this thing, we are putting these things. Okay? All these things are putting you in ICU. We are using more sensors than they use in ICU. Okay? So when you start thinking about this, and Dr. Pearl referred to this indirectly at least, that current healthcare is really purely in a repair model. What happens in repair model, whether you are dealing with your car or your computer or your body, yeah, it is the same thing with a big difference. Current healthcare is a repair model without cost estimates and without any guarantees. Yeah. Just think about that. The most important thing is being handled in this particular way. So you start thinking, can there be other approach? And we all talk about health is a journey. It's not a problem, not a destination. So you start thinking about navigation. Almost all of you came today using a navigation system. You came here, you set up, this is where you want to go, and the system brought you here. Let's look at this system a little bit. Before 2005, what happened was this. You were struggling with maps, trying to go to a place, and is having all kind of difficulties. Now you are in a position that few years from now, kids will not know, or young people will not know what maps are, how to use maps. Yeah. And this all happened because of very simple thing, dealing with data in different forms, data, information, knowledge, and all this kind of thing. What we did was we put all the knowledge that was in the maps in a very dynamic and usable form, and we developed sensors that will determine your current state. We close this loop, okay, which I call cybernetic loop, which was also invented around the same time that the World Health Organization was defining health. Okay? So this is what happened. And we realized that putting all this detailed information in cloud is very empowering. And finding out your health or finding out your state is really magical. You don't even have to tell where you are. I had to take Uber there. I did not even see the street names or anything. Just stood somewhere and said, this is where I want to go. And I could go there. Okay? So you start thinking about this, that can we consider our health also in a pure navigation mode? Of course, it will be hundreds of dimensions, but let all these engineers deal with the math and complexities. We will use the simple thing. So this is what I want my health state to be. I want to start playing tennis. I haven't played tennis for a long time. Okay? Or I want to run a half marathon. And the system will automatically determine what is my current state. System can determine what are the possible ways to get there and start telling how to get there. So effectively, what we can start doing is take this repair model that I mentioned. We can put in this my goal. Remember, the prescription and all those things were open loop. Let's close that loop. And the most important thing, it is the person that you start bringing. So this becomes a kind of system at very high level that we start designing. In slightly more detailed, the system starts looking like this. Yeah. You are collecting data from all kind of places. You are dealing with all kind of things there. Effectively, what you are doing is you put the goal state, and you put 360 view of a person. You put all kind of knowledge, whether you want to use Chinese medicine, whether you want to use modern Western medicine, Ayurveda, Unani medicine, you name it, or you want to create your own medical system, you put all that in knowledge there, and you start using all this kind of thing, and you start guiding in people's lifestyle and medicine. In lifestyle, you already heard food, activity, stress reduction, sleep, and if required, medicine. Okay? All the other four things are as effective or possibly more effective in not letting you become sick. Okay? World Health Organization also has a figure that only 10% of our health depends on medicine, 70% depends on your lifestyle and environment. So, one of the big challenges in all these things is personal models. How do we create personal model? Because each person is unique. Oscar Wilde very nicely said that society exists only as a mental concept. When we talk about population models, evidence-based medicine, we put something very interesting there. We already are looking for evidence for a particular hypothesis. Yeah. And then after building those models, we consider each person to be a sample of that population. Consider this room. Assume that half of the people here are male, half of them are female. Take the average of this. Then, according to the population model, each of you should have one breast and one testicle. How many of you have that? Yeah. Yeah. So this kind of model should be carefully avoided. That's why in medical field, lately people are talking about N of 1 models. How do we use N of 1 models to treat each individual by considering their longitudinal data? What that means effectively is learn something from all the companies that exist in this area that have been very successful, that made Bay Area Bay Area. What they do is they understand their customers individually. The old-fashioned models of considering population-based advertisement are gone. Yeah. Now it is very precise for each individual. Let's do the same thing here. And that's where we start building this personical or personal chronicle. What is personal chronicle? It is basically, it starts pulling together all the data that you can collect from people, from any possible sources. Combine those things and use on top of this event mining to build individual models. That means now you know that when this person eats this, this is what happens to this. If the person doesn't sleep this and does exercise, this is what is likely to happen. And all this kind of thing. So once you have this, we can build even more precise models, because precise models currently require evidence-based experiments. We can do those experiments much better if we have lots of individual data. And this individual data, we also have the background of each person, from where they come, where they live, and all this information. Then we can go to this big data source and can create the populations. That means we should not consider an individual to be a sample of a population, but we should consider a population of particular type aggregated from lot of data. Using the data that makes sense, we can create any kind of population that we want to do that. And that's what we should be doing. Okay? So this is what we want to do. That means emerging approaches to care for health, in my opinion, should be navigation based, closed loop control systems. They should be using repair when needed. There are always going to be many different situations where we'll have to do this, but ultimately they should use data guided approaches. In data we trust. Thank you.